Right, I would like to call to order the regular board meeting of the West Basin Municipal Water District. And with that, if we can have a determination of quorum, Mr. General Manager.
Yes, thank you very much, President Alvarez. Director Scott Houston. Here. Director John Deere. Here. Director Gloria Gray. Director Harold Williams. President Desi Alvarez.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Now we'll ask Allison to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right hand over your heart. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, next is public comment. Mr. General Manager, do we have any public comment today?
President Alvarez, we have not received any requests for public comment, though this meeting is being held both in person and virtually. If there's any member of the public that would like to speak under public comment, please indicate so by raising your virtual hand. Oh, we do have one member of our audience.
Oh, all right. Go ahead. You can speak from the chair. Or you can...
You have 3 minutes.
Alrighty. Good morning, West Basin Committee members. I am Nico Montoya, the CEO of Rain Barrels International, and I'm here with our co-owner, Esther Gonzalez, as well as our production lead for Rain Barrel making, Kim, and he's bringing up an example here. We are in a local business here in Los Angeles County. We primarily partner with local cities and water districts. Thank you for the opportunity to present why we believe Rain Barrels International is the best choice for this project today. Let me start by addressing the main factor in the recommendation that was made, which is cost. While reviewing the proposal requirements, we prioritized the feedback that was given from last December's West Basin survey. We noted that past providers, like the one recommended this year, use small plastic parts for the faucet and overflow and end up degrading, coming loose, and leaking, as noted by the feedback from the customers. We use corrosion-resistant brass fittings and metal-backed filters in every barrel, and while the upfront cost is a little higher, it'll save money in the long run by cutting down repairs, replacements, and customer complaints. Secondly, we truly are a local company here. We upcycle the plastic barrels from food vendors here in LA County, and actually one of them's right down the street, saving them from disposal in local landfills. And we also assemble our barrels right here in Santa Fe Springs, which means we are available to work directly with you in person whenever logistics need to be managed or issues arise. This is something that sets us apart from the larger, more remote competitors. We're not just a contractor, we're a partner deeply invested in this community. And lastly, we don't just deliver rain barrels, we also deliver education. Although it is not solicited in this bid, as a usual part of our partnership, we include complimentary community workshops and teach the local residents about the principles of rainwater harvesting, proper installation, and maintenance. This educational component empowers the community to maximize the benefits, and it's a vital mission that aligns with the goals of the West Basin Municipal Water District. In conclusion, while Rain Barrels International, our price may be a little bit higher, it reflects that our commitment to quality, durability, long-term partnership. We believe by choosing Rain Barrels International, you're not just choosing rain barrels, you're investing in a sustainable future for our community. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
President Alvarez, I do not see any additional comments in the room nor online.
Okay, then we will move on to presentations. And we are going to take the presentation a little bit on the on the agenda. And we will have a presentation today from Viola, or Mr. General Manager. Please introduce him.
Yes, thank you very much, President Alvarez. Over the past month to a month and a half, West Basin has invited those companies that have requested meetings with the board of directors related to the potential operations and maintenance agreement RFP that will be contemplated later today for an opportunity to speak with the board. In those instances, we have offered those companies an opportunity to join us at a committee or board meeting for a presentation. And so today we're very pleased to have Veolia, our current operator, here for a presentation. So I know that staff has the presentation and can control it. And Christian, if you want to come up and introduce the team, we can begin the presentation.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, members of the board and West Basin staff, my Veolia colleagues, and general public in attendance. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Bhavesh Chakrabarty, or also known as Bobby. I am Veolia's regional vice president, and West Basin is one of my projects. So today I'm joined by Christian Matthews, our Veolia's general manager at your ECL facility. Kinyat Bilal, we fondly call him KB. He is our maintenance manager, very popular. And also today we are joined by Art Pegerstrom. He is our senior technical director from Veolia's technical and performance. That I would like to proceed. Next slide, please. So this presentation, the purpose of this is to highlight our performance, particularly over the last 12 months or so. We are excited to share some of the incredible maintenance work that we have performed over this period since our last think tank. As you recall, that Veolia has identified priority projects that can be considered above and beyond typical O&M maintenance requirement in an effort to restore the normalcy post our 2021 Hyperion upset. So we are happy to say that due to the hard work that was accomplished over the last 12 months, that we have ramped up the barrier production to 10 mgd in August, and we are sustaining it, except maybe in few instances, like one instance where absolute power outage, and we have demonstrated how quickly we can come back and again ramp up the barrier production to 10 mgd. And as we stand now, I think our projection for next few months looks absolutely stunning. I mean, we want to go there where we have never been there in last like 15, 20 years in this. With that, though, I want to caution that, of course, as the facility continues to age, it is very typical to experience some of the challenges. For example, our automation system is no longer supported by Emerson. Some of our critical equipment passed its useful life. But that said, thanks to the staff's participation, we continue to forge this partnership, and we are able to strike a balance between operational criticality and the useful life of an equipment. And through that, we are prioritizing major maintenance projects to make sure that we continue to operate this facility at the top of its capacity. And as we stand here, we are also excited to share a roadmap going forward. Over the last 12 months, Veolia has dedicated, we have brought in operational experts, our leaders, engineering leaders like Art, to come here, to evaluate our processes, to investigate, to pick apart our standards and processes. The point here is that Veolia is dedicating this resource to make sure that we continue to operate this facility at the top capacity. As committed as we, Veolia, are for the sustainability of this planet, operating this facility at the top capacity is at the core of our mission here. Next slide, please. With that, I'm happy to also say that we have dedicated 7 new leaders to this project. It is the new leadership's vision that is making sure that we are on a path of a continuous improvement, utilizing the institutional knowledge that we have here with our staff, and at the same time collaborating with our regional and national level resources. And with that, I'm absolutely proud to be part of this team who has shown character, performing under a new normal condition, continue to tackle the challenges. It is a team that understands the unique need of your project and the challenges, and we're here to continue to deliver this positive momentum in the future. Thank you. Thanks.
So over the last 12 to 18 months, roughly, the technical group, which I'm part of, has been working closely with the plant staff to look at those issues at the facility that were indicated or the result of the upset back in 2021 from Hyperion and the subsequent increase in turbidity coming into the facility since then. One major area that we focused on was ferric dosing. We know it has big implications on membrane life, on solids production, and on the ultimate cost of operating the facility. So in the last 12 months, we implemented a jar testing program. So the operators are now jar testing on a regular basis to make sure that the ferric dosing is where it needs to be. We're using the amount of ferric that we need to get rid of the turbidity, but we're not overdosing and causing issues downstream in the product water filters. During that process, we've achieved roughly in the last 12 months, about $1.6 million in savings, just due to the reduction in ferric consumption at the facility. As part of this, going forward, we have plans to continue chemical optimization with some of the other large chemical uses. The next one being sodium hypochlorite, and those plans are underway right now. As part of our think tank process, as Bobby mentioned a few minutes ago, we brought together a team of experts about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, and that team identified about 229 priority projects for the facility that we felt needed to be implemented to keep the plant running and achieve water quality requirements under these new normal conditions that we're seeing from Hyperion. Up to date, about 86% of those initiatives have been completed. The rest are in the process or underway, and KB is going to be talking about those in some more detail later in the presentation. One big initiative around the think tank was rehabilitation and return to service of the gravity thickeners. And we've implemented some significant maintenance activities around those two gravity thickeners. Next slide, please. So we're talking about the new normal, and you can see here on the graph, the large red spike just to the right, on the right side of the graph, indicates the Hyperion upset that occurred in July of 2021. And you see the historical turbidity as the red line prior to that. Since then, since the July upset, we've seen a slightly elevated turbidity coming from Hyperion on a regular basis, and that's what we're calling the new normal. And that additional turbidity, as it comes into the plant, has several implications on operation of the facility, and we've got them identified here on the left side of the screen. Additional sludge removal. If we've got more turbidity coming in, that turbidity has to be removed and then hauled off as solids through the dewatering process. We've got additional maintenance from pinning, and we're going to talk about pinning and filter maintenance and filter longevity. KB is going to be talking about that in a few minutes as well. Excess chemical usage. We talked about the reduction in ferric that we've achieved over the last roughly 12 to 18 months of about $1.6 million. And then also the reduced production from membrane fouling due to higher levels of turbidity and iron coming through. But we're managing it now as best we can under these new normal conditions. Next slide, please. So what has Veolia accomplished since August of 2023? Next slide. The one major one that I'm going to talk about is around the return of the gravity thickeners, either to service or to be available for service. As we talked about with the elevated turbidity, we see increased solids production that's required to maintain solids inventory in the plant and minimize fouling on the membranes. And so we have focused on the solids management portion of the plant, gravity thickeners specifically. And as part of this, Veolia actually invested $100,000 of our own money in getting that one gravity thickener back in service and available, because we knew how critical it was to the overall process. Next slide. And I think, Christian.
Yeah, so this is an area I'm excited to talk about, which is our Phase 5 module changeouts and barrier ramp up. So with our efforts in changing 5 full units at this point, which attributed to 1,000 hours of labor to change these 5 units out. And with that, essentially $3.4 million in estimated increased revenue for the district at the new sustained 10 MGD production. Next slide. So in this graph, you see 2016, 2017 was, a higher point. Then you see the red line, which represents the upset. And then from there, there was some downtrending based on the impacts of the upset and other variables. You see that we got down to about a 2.8 MGD roughly here at the beginning of the year. And with our efforts through transitioning through with the new SINOR MF units, we've ramped up production to where we're at now with a sustained 10 MGD. Our target, as you can see, is that 15 MGD mark, which we feel that we can achieve that. Next slide. And this is just a few photos of some operational improvements or just an example of some efforts with labeling of materials so we understand and have a better understanding where our parts lie and essentially being of industry standard. Next slide.
All right, first, I want to thank you for the opportunity to give this presentation. It's not very often that we get to speak to the board about the work that we do for our West Basin. So these are some of the extraordinary maintenance recovery projects that we've taken on. Most of these projects were identified by the think tank. Looking at our lime silos, what you'll hear in this presentation is talking about obsolescence and lack of support from manufacturers. So as the subject matter experts for the facility, we've been able to identify some projects that we no longer have manufacturer support or even sometimes no materials for these items as they're obsolete based on the age of the plant. Our lime silo, we've done an extraordinary work in keeping the lime silo up and running, even though it hasn't been supported by the manufacturer. Another item I'd like to highlight is, again, you're going to hear the gravity thickeners. The gravity thickeners were out of service for quite some time, but through the hard work of the staff, we were able to bring 2 gravity thickeners back online as of this week. They're both available for use, which is very important for the project that are coming in the future with the solids handling. Over at our Carson plant, so we know the U.S. filter MEMCOR system is no longer supported, but in keeping that system up and running, we're able to change out 540 valve seats for that system, consisted of 9 microfiltration units. In addition to that, the portable ultrafiltration unit that was brought over to the plant, I believe in 2018, as support for the new phase 2 project, that unit itself is at its end of life. And we've been able to maintain that system and keep it up and running and provide substantial about 850 GPM per day for that unit, which reduces the emission, which it helps to improve our mission of not being on potable water. Over at our Torrance facility for our nitrogen service pump number 1, working with the district and the collaboration with the pumping project they've instituted, we've been able to replace some of our VFDs in addition to doing some pump rehab. That rehab has added some cost savings with energy use, also with pumping efficiency as well. Something I really want to highlight here over at the Torrance facility is our MF valve module and block changeout. The plant over at Torrance has been in service since about 1997. Unfortunately, I've been around to know this, but in that system, again, no longer supported by U.S. filter MEMCOR, materials are very hard to get all the way from Australia. As a result of that, we were able to replace 360 valve seats, 540 modules. Thank you very much for that purchase. But what's more extraordinary is we were able to collaborate with the district and Eric Owens and identify where we had some shortcomings from Australia for MF blocks. So we were able to repurpose blocks from phase 3, which has been decommissioned, and tear the MF units all the way down to their screws and bolts, repair the blocks, O-rings, and replace those units and have them transported over to Torrance. So over at Torrance, we're able to replace, I think it's 1,080 on this slide, but as of this week, we would have replaced about 1,200 blocks for the complete system, consisting of 6 MF units. This is an extraordinary challenge because you're taking this piece of equipment down to the manufacturer's nuts and bolts, and you're rebuilding it and putting it back in service. This contributes to the mission of no potable water usage, but it also contributes to the water quality that the refinery sees. So that's a very extraordinary effort. Then over at our Chevron plant, through the pumping project as well, we have pumps that have been in service equally since 1997, and we're able to remove those pumps and have them out for rehab while, still working to produce the water and water quality that the refinery expects from the nitrified side. In that, we've contributed about 3,200 hours of labor. That's quite a significant feat. And this is labor that's outside of any other preventive maintenance work, any other corrective maintenance work, or any other emergencies that we may experience in the facility. Next slide, please. So in talking about the think tanks projects they've identified, so there were 196 priority projects that were executed in the last 12 months. If you look at your slide, you'll see that we're about an 86% completion rating at all facilities on average. Again, an extraordinary feat with preventive maintenance, corrective maintenance, and emergencies that we continue to handle. Next slide, please. So the major projects to complete it in the current plant conditions. Next slide, please. So this is quite a feat. Because of the Hyperion upset, we received some damage to our phase 5 modules. So in that damage, in order to repair those modules and have them available for service for those units, we complete what's called pinning. Pinning is when you place a pin inside of a small module fiber, and you clip the top of the pin off, and this helps to preserve the membrane and help it perform better. Typically in a year, we use about, typically in a week, we use about 500 pins. In early January, we used 8,000 pins in a week. This is extremely labor intensive, and it's a very tedious task. So at this point, in keeping that system up until we receive the new SINOR modules, we pinned at 16 times the manufacturer's recommended rate. We basically made new modules out of modules that were no longer viable for use. So this was a very extraordinary feat. And just in 2023 alone, we spent 1,500 hours on weekends getting this work done. This is work outside of any other work we have on schedule at the plant. Next slide, please. Our solids handling project. So we know that our solids handling project and that equipment, the life expectancy was about 10 years. I've been around to see this equipment exceed 20 years past its life expectancy. And this is through extraordinary work from the staff, being the subject matter experts for the equipment itself, and having that dedication and commitment to the facility. Most of this work was done on weekends or early before shifts even started. We would come in and ensure this equipment was up, running, and ready for removal of solids. We understand this is a single choke point for the plant and also a single point of failure. So through that, we spent about 600 hours and 7 months just maintaining the Able pump system, which I believe has already come to the board's attention, and we're going to be moving forward with the solids handling project early 2025. So we continue to maintain this equipment in hopes that that project comes on board soon, and we can do some other things with our labor hours. Next slide, please. So what's next? Next slide. Thank you. So as part of our planning, we hope to continue on with the last three units for the phase 5 system and changing out the SINOR modules. And then sometime late November, December, we expect to complete an RO change out for our Chevron boiler feed process, high pressure and low pressure. In that process, we'll be repurposing the modules from that system and transfer them over to the the Torrance and JMM facilities for use in the RO trains there. Another opportunity here for cost savings and being a subject matter expert, understanding that those modules are still viable in other systems. Next slide, please. So as I discussed, if you look at this photo here, this is an example of the amount of maintenance that went into tearing down the phase 3 units to remove the blocks because we were no longer going to be able to get blocks from US Filter, Memcor, and Australia. We could have gotten the blocks, but what that would have required, because for the quantity that we needed, they would have had to change their entire blow mold system back from their current process all the way back to 1997 in order to provide these blocks for us. Again, in collaboration with the district, we were able to remove blocks that were recently installed in 2018, remove those blocks and repurpose them over at the Torrance facility and hopefully other facilities as well as needed. So we still have several units available for that use. Next slide. Emergency response. As the subject matter experts for the facility, we are quick to respond to emergencies. On August 30th, we experienced a complete loss of our 16 kV service. That service knocked out the Title 22 pumps as well as some of our MF processes as well. Understanding the plant and understanding what's in the plant, we were able to take a outage that would have lasted 24 hours, and we were able to provide backup power to the Bologna feed and supply water to the boiler feed process for the Chevron refinery with almost little or no impact to that refinery as well, other than reduced flows. In the same day, we experienced a 30-inch line break for our RO feed system over at the JMM facility that supplies Marathon Refinery. Due to the collaboration with ourselves, our emergency response team, the district's emergency response team as well, we were able to isolate and put a temporary repair on this line within 12 hours, which is extraordinary for a 30-inch HDPD line when parts were traveling from Florida and also Colorado for this actual repair, along with a specialized technician. So this is how we demonstrate our ability to respond to emergencies in the plant, no matter what the situation may be. Next slide. So the slide says you can count on us. This goes beyond those words. Who are we? We are your customers. We're in your service area. We're veterans. We're students from trade schools that have been given opportunities to come and work in the facility. And we represent the community and the diversity that it represents as well. So this is who we are. You can count on us. You've counted on us, and you can count on us in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, board members. It was truly a pleasure to be able to present to you here today. And I would like to open up for questions, Q&A.
Well, thank you very much. That was a very nice presentation.
Yes, sir.
Any questions or comments? Director Dio, we'll start with you. Do you have any?
The presentation, that's all. No questions.
Director Houston.
I really don't have any questions. I just, but I do want to say thank you for all the work you guys have been doing for us over obviously many years, but obviously in the more recent time as Veolia has become the company. So I can't help but say we have to acknowledge the work you guys have accomplished at our plant and work with our staff. And so that is not taken lightly. I do truly appreciate it. And thank you for being here and talking to us this afternoon. What I would like to ask really briefly, and I'm going to put you on the spot, but our general manager, EJ Caldwell, of course, the board members, we are not integrally involved with operations of the plant. We have to rely on the staff, you all, for these reports and updates. And by all accounts, it seems like things have been moving forward quite well. Although we've had obviously huge challenges, especially with that Hyperion upset, and we're still trying to recover. But all this to be said, EJ, they've given us a good report, but how has it been when it comes to some of the things that they've encountered with our staff in the last, 6 months to 1 year that they discussed?
Director Houston, I don't think that there's any better example than just last night. Obviously, there was a power outage. I know that some of the members of the Veolia team probably did not sleep last night and are here today to present. working hand in hand with our staff, some of who are not here today because they themselves are at home resting because they were up all night trying to get us up and running. And very pleased to say that the Veolia team, along with West Basin, not only worked with our customers, but were able to get us up and running. This has been the ongoing part of our operations and maintenance at Edward C. Little. They've been doing the best job that they can through all these challenges. And I think later on in the agenda, I believe it's item 8B, the discussion of potential RFP. It really does not reflect anything that the work of Veolia has done. It really is just a question of what does the scope of work look like and what is the future relationship of West Basin and our facility and the operators. So it does not reflect, the discussion will not reflect at all the performance of Veolia. They've done a good job. And since they've taken over from Suez, our former contractor, they've done everything they can to keep us up and running and keep the facility producing recycled water.
Very good. Well, again, thank you. And I am very genuine, serious when I mean, all the folks who have operated that facility over these many years, that has been, tremendously important to this district, let alone that's the long-term partnership. And we're at the behest sometimes, yes, of that water quality. So thank you for your assistance and helping us be more efficient with the operations.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I don't have any additional comments. Just thank you very much, and thank you for all the efforts over this past year that you've invested in the plant and the maintenance of the of all three plants. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, board.
Okay, with that, we will move on to our other two presentations. And the first one is the recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month. So we have a proclamation. I will read the proclamation. And proclamation reads as follows. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month is observed from September 15th to October 15th in celebration of the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors come from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, Central America, and South America. And whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month coincides with the Independence Day celebrations of several Latin American nations, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, from Spain on September 15, 1829, Mexico from Spain on September 16, 1810, Chile from Spain on September 18, 1810, and Belize from Great Britain on September 21, 1981. And whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month was first introduced in 1968 to recognize the significant contribution of the Hispanic and Latin community and the growing acknowledgement of the multicultural identity shaping the United States. And whereas the National Hispanic Heritage Month acknowledges the 65.2 million people of Hispanic and Latin descent in the United States who make up 19.5% of the total population, including the 4.7 million community members of Los Angeles County, the largest Hispanic and Latin population in the nation. And whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month recognizes this year's theme of Pioneers of Change, Shaping the Future Together, which encapsulates the spirit of innovation, resilience, and unity that define the Hispanic and Latin experience, and recognizes the trailblazers who have paved the way for future generations. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this, the 23rd day of September 2024, that we, the directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, hereby recognize National Hispanic Heritage Month as an annual celebration of the many contributions, achievements, and extensive history of Hispanic and Latin Americans and their influence in the United States. Okay, with that, Any of the directors want to make any comments about National Hispanic Heritage Month? Director Lear, do you have any comments or?
I think it's good that this board is recognizing, already talking about a large percentage of the LA County population are Hispanic heritage, and it's good to recognize that.
And I would echo that as well. And thank you that our staff and this board does recognize each of these months. And so we obviously serve a very broad service area that has multiple cultures in it. And we also do have a Latino director on our board. But with that, I think it is extremely important that we honor the many folks who live in this district, as well as LA County. So thank you for that. I do appreciate it.
I would also echo the comments of Director Deere, Director Houston. As an immigrant, I was not born in this country. I was born in Cuba. I always find it interesting that when we recognize National Hispanic Heritage Month, I prefer to call it Latin American Month or something. Hispanic to me just brings a different stance anyways. One of the things that we recognized in there was Spain, but it's interesting that once you look at all of the Latin American countries and the immigrants that are here from Latin Americans, the one thing we have in common is we all declared our independence from Spain, and Spain was the original colonizer of the Western world. But that was interesting that we also now are recognizing them. I just find that odd. Comment on that. I don't view nothing against the Spanish people or my grandparents. As most people that immigrated from Latin America, somewhere in their family background, have grandparents or great grandparents, etc., that were from Spain. But just interesting. Anyways, that's my comments, and thank you all for listening to that. Next, we have the recognition of Water Professional Week. So, for Water Professional Week, let me read the proclamation. Whereas water is the lifeblood of California, and without safe and reliable water, no community and no sector of the economy, from high tech to manufacturing to agriculture, can thrive or expand. And whereas now more than ever, the water industry is proud of the important role our essential workers play in making sure our communities have safe and reliable water supplies. And whereas California is steadily expanding the reuse of treated wastewater and pioneering the use of advanced purified recycled water to replenish aquifers, prevent seawater intrusion, and improve local water supply reliability. And whereas water professionals at local public water and wastewater agencies work diligently, plan for the future, maintain and upgrade infrastructure, and improve the safety and safety. And whereas thousands of essential water, wastewater, and recycled water industry professionals in the state dedicated their careers to keeping drinking water, recycled water, and treated wastewater safe and reliable for use by Californians. And whereas West Basin Municipal Water District employs 50 full-time employees who work together on a daily basis to ensure the reliable delivery of drinking and recycled water supplies to the service area. And whereas West Basin employees cooperate with water industry professionals at the local, state, and federal level to achieve the common goal of providing reliable water and wastewater services to support healthy communities, strong economies, and sustainable environment. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this, the 23rd day of September 2024, that we, the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, hereby declare October 5 to 13, 2024, Water Professionals Appreciation Week, and extend sincere gratitude and appreciation to the water professionals who work tirelessly to provide essential water supplies and services to our community. Okay, with that, I think we should recognize all of our staff. They're all water professionals and you're here today. Please all stand and take a bow. See if Director Houston have any comments, and then I'll have all of you guys circle up and we'll have a picture match. Okay, Director Deere.
We have an excellent staff. There's no doubt about it. That's all I have to say.
Director Houston.
President Alvarez beat me to the punch a little bit because I was going to say we actually have a whole room of water professionals. So not just our staff, but the contractors and, our guests. I mean, you're all involved in the water community. And that extends beyond, yes, our engineers and operations people, right? There's finance, there's, communications, there's legal. Truth of the matter, in my opinion, is I think water truly is one of the most exciting industries that any of us could be in. I'm a huge advocate for it, and it doesn't really matter your professional background or level of experience. It's just an exciting industry to be a part of, and it's essential. And, everything that we're all doing every day makes this region work, the state work, the country work. So I'm so glad when we get to honor this week from the West Basin Board perspective. But please know that your work is very much appreciated. And you all get to do your part too, to be those ambassadors. And we need to get more people looking at these opportunities and jobs because we're all not going to be around here forever. And, people are retiring, people, yes, do move into different fields, but we need to bring in that next group of professionals. So please help us do that. And thank you. We honor you during this upcoming week. So thanks so much.
Okay, now if I can have you guys come up, we'll take a picture.
Yeah.
That one.
Oh. You can
You
use.
should say for me. All right. I guess it's not mine. She told me we're going back. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you guys, and again, thank you for all of your service and commitment to providing clean, affordable water to our communities. Okay, so with that, we will move, there are no items to be advertised. We'll move to the consent calendar. And if I can have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So move.
Well, second it.
Go ahead.
Yes.
That
That one?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. I thought that was the other.
Okay.
We will move the consent calendar with the exception of item 7G. We will bring back after closed session.
So
So the consent calendar is everything except item 7G. That's okay with you, Jerome, dear?
That's okay, sure.
I concur. I'm fine with that.
Okay, so let's take a roll call vote.
Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray, Director Harold Williams, President Desi Alvarez.
Okay, the next item is our action calendar, and first item on the action calendar is the authorization of purchase of rain barrels for the distribution event. So, Mr. General Manager, would you like to introduce that item, please?
Yes, President Alvarez, this item does begin on packet page 310. And for this presentation, we have Matt Bay, our Manager of Water Policy and Resources Development.
Thank you, EJ, and good afternoon, Director. As EJ said, we're on page 310 of the agenda packet. And the action item before you is related to the district's rain barrel distribution program. As you're all aware, West Basin Rain Barrel Program has been highly successful for about 10 years now, providing free rain barrels to approximately 15,000 service area residents since 2015. Staff is preparing to finalize the schedule for all of our events this fall, and we're excited to report that we currently have a wait list of nearly 300 residents who are interested in attending one of the upcoming events. Each year, as part of this procurement process for the program, we solicit bids or quotes from companies that are able to produce and deliver what we consider to be a pretty significant number of rain barrels to multiple events in the fall. This year, staff issued an invitation for quotes for IFQ on August 15th. And in total, 227 companies engaged with the solicitation, 11 companies downloaded the documents, and 4 companies submitted quotes. On page 311 of the agenda packet, you can find a table that explains the following information about each of the bidders. Company name and location, whether the company's products are made in America, as well as the unit price, total bid amount. Attachment A, which begins on page 313 of the packet, provides a more detailed breakdown of each of the bids. As part of the IMQ process, we worked with our procurement team to develop language that highlighted the district's preference for American-made goods and services. With that said, a company outside of the United States will not be disqualified from submitting a bid, and we did receive one bid from a Canadian company that we've worked with in previous years. As you can see from the table, we had 3 American companies that submitted bids, with 2 of the companies being local to Southern California, which is one we heard from today. You can also see that the 3 lowest bids that we received were all within $5,000 of each other, so a very narrow range. What's not shown on this table, but what I also want to mention is that all 3 of the low bid companies use repurposed food grade barrels that are cleaned and converted to rain barrels, which provides an additional sustainability and recycling benefit. In looking at the bids of Upcycle Products, a company from Morris, Illinois, provided the lowest bid of $86,250. The lowest bid is within West Basin's fiscal year 24-25 budget amount. I would also note that this doesn't include taxes on the rain barrels and accessories, which would add an additional $8,840 to that amount. Also, this cost is shared between West Basin and Metropolitan Water District. West Basin receives $35 per rain barrel through the member agency administered program, which for 1,500 rain barrels equates to $52,500, or approximately 56% of the cost for the rain barrels, accessories, and delivery and tax. Upcycle is not new to us, as the company provided rain barrels to our program between 2015 and 2019. And from what staff has shared with me, who worked with them at that time, their previous experiences working with them have all been positive. Now, because Upcycle is the lowest responsible bidder, and because we've had a good working relationship with them in the past, staff is making a recommendation to procure rain barrels for this year's program from Upcycle Products. However, it was not an easy decision, and I do think that Rain Barrels International does present a compelling local option for the board of directors to consider. Not only are they an American company, but they're located in Southern California. As you heard from them today during the public comment, they do provide brass fittings as part of their rain barrels, which could help with some of the issues that residents have faced with some of their connections going out over time. They also spoke to local workshops that they could present to our residents. And so it is a cost difference of less than $5,000 between them and Upcycle. It is something for the board to consider as a more potentially environmentally friendly option, as there would be 5 fewer cross-country deliveries being made by going with the local option. So with that said, I can now either read the recommendation or defer to the board of directors for further discussion on this item.
I think we may have some comments on this. So first I'll start with Director Dare. Do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of the local option.
And Director Houston?
Yeah, I have a couple questions because, and I do know we've used this previous vendor a handful of years, I think. But the cost difference is so close. And one of the things you mentioned is even these numbers, that these don't include the tax, or what was it you said, Matt?
That's correct. We had them all provide us with bids that were pre-tax because of the Canadian company. So that way we can just add the tax afterwards.
Okay. So all of these still, we're going to have to pay tax on top of.
Correct.
Now, on the other hand, Upcycle included those deliveries that are coming from, and where are they coming from?
That's Chicago.
From, Chicago.
Or excuse me, Morris.
Okay, but from Illinois. Okay. And I know we're sending them usually to multiple locations here local in our area.
There's 5 separate deliveries.
And did Rain Barrels International include the shipping or delivery?
Yes.
Local, okay. And the other thing is, first of all, forgive me, I didn't realize that they were local. I had no idea. So I learned something today. I'm glad to hear that. But also, I know we've had a number of concerns with the spigots. And we've had to replace quite a few for residents. And staff's always done a great job. Some of y'all literally go to their house and give it to them. So I think that's a good thing that should be noted. So I'm open to looking at a local vendor, and I'm always big about local vendors and local manufacturing. So that's where I'm at, Mr. President.
Thank you. I have two comments. First, I'd like to start off with a question, and that is, in looking at Upcycle, which is shipping from Illinois, has there ever been, since they have been providers in this for several years in the past, has there been issues with problems with delivery of the barrels? Most of our events are held in the wintertime, and they are coming cross country. So has that been an issue?
Yes, it has. At least once that I'm aware of, blizzard delayed the delivery. Staff was able to do a great job of kind of juggling the different events and moving rain barrels around, but that did impact us.
So that is a potential issue that adversely impacts it. And I, as Director Houston and Director Deere, do like the idea of a local company, and I think that using the brass fittings and so on, makes for a higher quality grain barrel. Given that the difference in price is about 5%, a little over, we do have the right to exercise local preference in terms of awarding it. So I would make the recommendation that we award the rain barrel, the purchase of the rain barrels for this year's events to Rain Barrel International. And I'll make that a motion if I can get a second.
I'll second.
Okay, do you have any additional comment?
No, I think this is a good idea, so I'll support it.
Well, with that, we will have a roll call.
Director Scott Houston.
Yes.
Director John Deere.
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray. Director Harold Williams. President Desi Alvarez.
Yes.
The item passes.
All right, and then next item is item 8B, to issue request for proposal for operation and maintenance contract service. Mr. General Manager, please introduce that item.
Yes, thank you, President Alvarez. I'll begin this item, and then I'll hand it off to our Assistant General Manager, Eric Owens. The presentation or the materials begin on packet page 315. As you know, West Basin currently utilizes the services of Veolia to operate and maintain the Hyperion Pump Station in Playa del Rey, the Eversea Little Water Recycling Facility in El Segundo, and 3 satellite facilities in the cities of Carson, Torrance, and El Segundo. The current agreement for the O&M services was entered into on January 1st, 2020 between West Basin and Suez Water Environmental Services. And Suez provided O&M contract services to West Basin after it acquired United Water Service Incorporated, United Water. United Water had operated West Basin's facilities almost since the inception of West Basin's recycled water program in the mid-1990s, following its takeover of J&M Operational Services Incorporated. As I just noted, that the inception of that agreement back in the mid 1990s is really what is at issue here today. The contractual relationship with West Basin Municipal Water District and its current operator, though a strong one, the scope of work that's identified within the agreement and the structure of the agreement is something that West Basin staff, as well as the board of directors, has discussed looking at and evaluating. In July 2023, West Basin's board of directors established a new ad hoc committee for matters regarding West Basin's facilities operations. Staff subsequently discussed contractual options and key considerations with the ad hoc committee and requested that the appropriate assessments be conducted in contemplation of the solicitation process for O&M services. Given the highly specialized nature of the recycled water facilities O&M services and the critical services recycled water represents in the West Basin customers and service area, the ad hoc committee and staff agreed on an approach for requested resources and additional time for an appropriate solicitation process. As a result, the ad hoc committee recommended that the board authorize the general manager to extend the term of the current agreement with Veolia for a period of approximately 8 months from December 31st, 2024 to August 31st, 2025, to allow for appropriate internal assessment, RFP preparation, solicitation, contract negotiation, and potential transition time. The board approved the recommendation on November 27th, 2023, and amendment number 2 to agreement W2 900 was executed on December 8th, 2023. We are here today because the current draft of the scope of work and the RFP has reached a 90% completion for the draft, which you'll find attached as exhibits A and B. And at this time, I will hand it over to Erica Owens, our Assistant General Manager, for just an overview of these documents.
Thank you, EJ. I think you've got us caught up to pretty much today, so I'll take it from there. The presentation I'd like to share with the board begins on page 508. Some of the material that the general manager just covered is covered in these first few slides, so I can go through there fairly quickly. But if we can go to the next slide. What we intend to share with the board today is really just the background. I think the general manager did a good job covering that. The solicitation process that we are envisioning, and of course that includes the contract framework, that staff has ultimately landed on and is presented today. Give you a little bit of update on the RFP documents, and of course, some of the most important facets of the new contract would be the payment mechanisms that we're looking at, which are fairly different from our current structure. And then, of course, the schedule for the entire process that will take us to the end of the current contract, August of 2025. So if we go to the next slide. And the next. General Manager just covered these, for these specifically, this contract will cover the plant treatment facilities listed here in the gray box. Does not include the Inframark facilities that Inframark are managing in the green. We can go on to the next slide. This is just a history of those same two different contracts that we have for O&M of the distribution and O&M of treatment. But the General Manager covered these. We can go on to the next slide. And this is really where we begin the discussion. There are multiple ways to structure an O&M contract of this nature. One would be a fixed price where we just tell the vendor, you own all the risk and responsibilities for delivering water quality and water quantity to our customers, and they give us a fixed price for that. And of course, that would probably result in an extremely high cost because they will price in a lot of risk for a lot of unknowns. The other end of the spectrum is a time and materials or a cost plus, where effectively we're just paying for the labor and an additional profit for the company to purchase things on our behalf, usually through the form of a markup of those things. That's probably closest to our current contract right now. What staff is looking to do, though, is to find a good middle ground that will balance both risk and reward for the district and for the contract operator. If we could go to the next slide. And there we go. This is just a snapshot of some of the issues that these different frameworks can offer or should be considered in the way that we are structuring ours. You want the contractor to have some skin in the game so that they take on some of the risk associated with producing the water quality and the water quantity that we are obligated to supply our customers. Of course, you've got to factor in the fact that we have a 30-year-old treatment facility, which has been expanded in 5 different phases, and of course, 3 satellite facilities, and that all weighs in on their ability to maintain that quality and quantity, and so on and so forth in the table there. But as I mentioned in the previous slide, West Basin staff are really seeking for this RFP to find a balanced approach of that risk and the reward, taking into account real world factors like the issue that none of us really have any control over the current water quality that we receive from the city of Los Angeles, as well as the age of the infrastructure. Those two things alone will play a large role in our ability to meet our contractual obligations, and we can't necessarily put that solely upon the contract operator to take on those risks. And so, as I mentioned, we're looking for a balance, to strike a balance between a fixed fee approach and a variable fee approach. If we can go on to the next slide. This is just a graphic that shows kind of all the inputs in a very brief form that West Basin has done. Working with staff, our consultant, Hazen and Sawyer, with their sub-consultant Sphere, has put together the documents that are included in the board packet today. Effectively, they took West Basin's vision, our mission, our values, et cetera, as well as our specific issues that we have had in executing or implementing the contract over the years, and what we want to get out of the next contract period. And so they've put all this information into the documents. We reviewed a scope allocation matrix. This is where staff went back and forth with the consultant to understand, what risks are we willing to retain, what risks are we willing to hand over to the contractor, and ultimately all of this is yielding the RFP documents, the scope of services, and a draft O&M agreement. The O&M agreement is not yet ready for prime time. It's not included in today's package, but rest assured, it will largely be defined by those returnable schedules that are included in the package. And in fact, on the next slide, please. This is by design very, very complicated. I hope you can read at least the version in front of you, if not the slides. on the screen. But the idea here is that we've structured this with these returnable schedules. And so effectively what this means is the proposers are going to have to fill in each of these returnable schedule 1 through 16. And by doing so, that becomes part of their proposal. So we're asking for very specific things in each of those returnable schedules. By requiring them to return back these schedules as part of their proposal, we're ensuring that we're going to know exactly where we need to find that information within their proposal. So it's going to simplify staff's review of each of these proposals. And of course, the information included in those returnable schedules will either be for the purposes of simply evaluating their proposals and scoring each of those, or it will actually go into the contract. And so some of the criteria that they return in those schedules will actually become part of the contract document. And you can see there that quite a few of these returnable schedules will be used to inform the contract terms. Some of them will just be in the form of exhibits, clarifying that scope of work that the general manager mentioned. But ultimately, all of this information is going to create a contract that is very different in form and feel than what we've had for the last 30 years. And again, really an attempt to balance the risk and the reward of operating our facilities. We can go on to the next slide. So as I mentioned at the beginning, one of the largest differences between the current contract structure and the future contract structures, the payment mechanism. We are looking at a majority of the services that are provided would be under a fixed fee. So you can see through this formula here that the O&M fees on a given month will be based on a management fee, an operations fee, a planned maintenance fee, which is distinct from an unplanned maintenance fee. Any reimbursable items that are purchased or procured from the contractor and passed through to us. And then, of course, any additional services that are asked for during that invoice period. Through this KPI adjustment, if there are things that they are not meeting their contractual obligation for, we can actually deduct from their monthly invoice for their inability or to produce those things. Similarly, we are looking at a structure that will incentivize them, perhaps with an additional payment for works that they may do that are not necessarily built in here. So for instance, if they are able to optimize a chemical cost and reduce our overall annual budget for chemical, we are considering a structure where we share that savings with them, and they benefit from that as well as so does West Basin through an overall lower budget. We can go to the next slide. These next few slides really just touch on each of those payment structures a little bit more in depth. I won't read them to you, but the key I want to make specifically for the management fee is, right now our contract structure is that if the contractor purchases something on our behalf, doesn't matter if it's a $10 part or a $100,000 part, there's a 12% markup associated with that. And largely, it doesn't even matter if their effort to purchase that thing is the same for a $10 part or a $100,000 part. We will pay 12% on top of that. In the current structure, anything that the team will procure on our behalf, it will be factored into a maintenance or a management fee. And so effectively, we are paying a lump sum, a fixed fee for their ability to procure anything and everything that the scope requires. And that is probably one of the most significant aspects of difference between the existing contract and the future contract. Operations fee will be fairly similar. It will be a fixed fee, largely dictated by the number of bodies associated with operating our facilities, but also including other cost things like consumables and sampling, et cetera, et cetera. We can go on to the next slide. As I mentioned, the planned maintenance fee, these are the things that we can predict and we can quantify. We are intending to have a fixed price associated with that so that each month there is a specific set of duties and tasks that need to get accomplished. And if they do that, then they get paid the fixed price for doing so. If any of that does not get completed for whatever reason, then there's potentially a KPI adjustment, meaning where we would reduce their fixed fee by some amount based on their inability to have completed those prescribed tasks. When it comes to unplanned maintenance, though, these things are a little harder to structure into a fixed fee. We can't predict them. It would be frankly quite a bit of guesswork if we did try to hold them to a fixed price structure for this. And so the idea with the unplanned maintenance fee is it's very much time and materials. If things arise that require them to go out and purchase or procure services on our behalf in order to deliver these things that come up that, such as last night's power shutdown, as one example, they would not necessarily just have to build that into their structure. That would be, we would have a mechanism through the contract to make a payment for that in this unplanned maintenance fee. We can go on to the next slide. Lastly, when it comes to these reimbursable items, we are looking to structure this contract such that the contractor has responsibility for procurement of some of the larger costs that West Basin pays for our recycled water program. As you see in the highlights there, this might be things like chemicals, perhaps membrane purchases, which happens less frequently, filter media, and solids hauling. And so the idea here is that the contractor will hold those contracts and they will go out and solicit those services from these vendors and ultimately bring us the best price that is essentially a pass-through cost to West Basin. And so we would pay that on a monthly basis as they spend it. And the main difference here is currently West Basin holds the contracts for most of these. It is our staff that have to navigate the volatility in some cases of, say, chemical prices or scheduling issues associated with delivery of some parts and pieces. And so by putting this into the hands of the contractor, we're essentially saying that they are better suited to deal with those changing conditions and to address them, and frankly, to get consistent performance from the vendors in order to ensure that they are making the water quality and water quantity that we need. And so as a consequence, what we're looking at on these reimbursable items would be that the contractor would hold the contracts for these items. Through the annual budget process for West Basin, we would work with the contractor to develop the annual cost for these items. Those costs would come to the board as part of the budget process, and a contract amendment would occur each year that would look to the budget for the following year for these types of items. And then it would be up to the operator to live within that budget. Of course, if there's extraordinary things that cause them to go outside of that budget, well, we'd be coming back to the board to talk about that. So board would maintain a level of approval of the dollar values associated with these items, but not necessarily would see each individual item come before the board as happens now. And lastly, as I mentioned, additional services. This is anything that comes up that we haven't contemplated yet that needs to be dealt with. We will have some ability within this contract structure for them to handle that and also be compensated for it, not just assume that it comes out of our fixed payments. And so we can go on to the next slide and next one. Yeah. And so that brings us to the schedule. Here we are today, just at the end of September. We are seeking approval to release the RFP. Again, you have a 90% draft in the board packet today. Staff will be working over the next week or two to really put the finishing touches on the document and get it ready for release to our OpenGov system. And we are anticipating a release to the market by October 4th. As you can see in the slide here, the months of October, November, and partial December will be the bid advertisement period, where folks are working on their proposals, asking questions. We are clarifying them through that 2.5 month period. Over the holiday season of December into January, we'll be reviewing those proposals, having interviews, ultimately seeking a board award, I'd say in January to February of 2025. And of course, a final board approval in late February 2025. And then, of course, if with the board's approval and selection of a team, we will move forward to transition We have to allow the successful team some period of time to ramp up their services. And I would even say that in the case of, let's say, Veolia being the selected team, they will need time to adjust to the new scope of services that we're asking them to do. So we've allowed ample time, in my opinion, 5 months of transition. And we know that we'll have to be flexible during that 5 months to ultimately decide, how much transition time we need. But I think 5 months is going to be sufficient for us to have a new contract in place by August 31st, 2025, and be comfortably starting with under that new contract. And with that, I can read the recommendation. Find us. The recommendation is that the board authorize the general manager to issue an RFP for operations and maintenance contract services for West Basin's recycled water facilities upon the completion of the RFP documents. I'm happy to take any questions.
Mr. President, if I could just add a few comments. As noted in the staff report, I did want to make note that typically as staff reviews these items and brings it forward, you do get staff's recommendation. In this case, this was the recommendation of the ad hoc committee specifically. I do recognize that Director Harold Williams, one of the members of the ad hoc committee, is not here. And then secondly, I wanted to note that the work that you see here, a little bit beyond, I would say 90%, but just barely. I did want to say that this is a collective effort, a team effort. A lot of hours have been dedicated to this. So I did want to note, obviously, Barkhead Masurlian, our Executive Manager of Engineering Operation, Uzi Daniel, our Manager of Operations, Susanna Lee, our Supervisor of Operations, and of course, our Assistant General Manager, Eric Owens. And then last but not least, I had a chance to comment on this with a director's question. But I did want to, again, note that this recommendation is not in any part related to the services that are being provided by our current contract operator, Veolia. This is in relation to kind of resetting the expectations and the working relationship between West Basin and our contract operators with a new scope of work and a new style and complexity or construct of an agreement. And that is the reason for the recommendation at this time. So with that, of course, staff is ready for any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. So we will see director's questions and comments. Let's start with you, Director.
That was very, very clear. His description of this. Appreciate it very much. Did a good job.
Director Houston.
Thank you very much. I have a couple questions, and part of it is obviously the ad hoc committee have really been the ones that have paid attention to this day to day. And so at this point, and I mean, Director Alvarez, President Alvarez, you're on the ad hoc. So are you all comfortable with where we're at with what's been brought before us at this moment?
Very good. And I mean, I have some questions and comments also that have been raised by the ad hoc, but very comfortable and ready to have this item move forward. It's been a long time of, not a long time, a lot of investment by the staff, as the general manager referenced, and a lot of efforts placed into developing it. It's basically ready to go.
Okay. And then I also wanted to ask legal counsel, are you all comfortable with what we have got thus far? And then I had a couple more questions just for my understanding, President Alvarez. So it does seem it's a different type of contract. Obviously, it's a little more complicated than the way we do it now, correct? So do you think it's going to be more cost effective for a new vendor contract once that's approved in the way that it's run? Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
And then my other question is, because it is more complicated than what we've done before, is that going to limit the competition to look at this bid, or what's your perspective on that, whether it's you or staff or whomever?
Yes, I believe there's a great deal of interest in this. One of the things that I've been very pleased with is that I think that the proposals that we have before you today provide each potential contract operator, each potential respondent to the RFP to propose a very creative approach, a very individualized approach as to how they would do that. We have had a few companies that have come and presented. And one of the unique natures of that is that they've all presented about different approaches to dealing with the issues that we're facing at UCL, which is primarily the water quality that we're receiving from Hyperion, but also how they would manage the facility. Allowing some creativity and really incentivizing the work that they're going to do and really identify the key performance indicators as to what we're asking them to do, I think is crucial. And Eric, I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I was just going to reiterate that I think that the players in this arena, they're not many, but all of them have expressed interest, and several of them have come before the board and talked to you. And I think we expect to get at least 4 to 5 proposals. As the general manager was saying, that we're not being absolutely prescriptive because we're not the end all be all. Experts on these types of scopes of services. So the way that we've structured this RFP allows the industry to give us ideas on how we should structure, say, those KPI adjustments or the incentives associated with the contract. And we can decide which of those we like and ultimately factor those into the final contract.
Okay. Well, thank you. And thank you for all the work you guys have done in getting us to this point. I'm very pleased that we are at this point and looking at a different type of contract. I do think that there's a lot of interest and we will get a lot of competitive bids. So it is important to recognize that we are going to shift some of this burden from just a basically cost reimbursement type of contract to a fixed fee contract. And that puts a little more burden on the contractor to hold their costs down and will ultimately serve us well. With respect to the reimbursable fee, I'm a little bit concerned with some of the items and primarily has to do with the unplanned maintenance. I think that the definition of that needs a little bit more work. Because unplanned maintenance would be any item that wasn't planned to fail this or needs some additional work this particular month. And I don't think that would be the proper definition of unplanned maintenance. Unplanned maintenance should be something that comes out of the blue. The example that the general manager mentioned last night, if there was any maintenance that needed to be done, this was something that was terribly damaged as a result of the power failure, which I understand was not the case, would be an unplanned maintenance. But the fact that you may have to replace a motor that hadn't been rewound or for some other reason, but it wasn't planned to be replaced, it's not an unplanned maintenance in my definition. That's just part of maintenance, and maintenance means that you deal with things from time to time that you weren't anticipating, but you have to repair. And if you want to go to a very personal level, if you're looking at kitchen gadgets, your toaster isn't working on a Saturday morning, you were planning that it wasn't going to work, but a lot of times if you have somebody who's handy, they can repair your toaster. A family member can do that on Saturday morning. Wasn't planned, but it's something you just do and take care of. So I'm concerned about the definition of unplanned maintenance. And we need to really focus and drill down on that. The other issue is with respect to purchase of chemicals and so on. Some of the burden on that needs to really be with the operator. If they're doing a really good job, those maintenance or the cost of chemicals cut down. If they're not, those costs go up. So there's a little bit more risk shifting to the contractor on chemicals. Operating the plant is one, it says, should be 100% responsibility of the contractor, and that's the one way to control your chemical costs. If you need to make adjustments to your chemical processes, then make the adjustments, and those will result in chemical savings. So if we're going to be bringing back annually approval for purchases of chemicals, when those come back, I'd love to see some real balance in there on what's the incentive for the contractor to keep those chemical costs at a minimum and how that should be accomplished. So in general, those are the types of comments that I have, that I think we really do need to worry about the items that are going to be cost plus type of items, to make sure that they are really outside of what the management fee should entail. But the management fee should be as all inclusive as possible. And if we only have one bid on this thing, which I do not think we're going to have, then I would be concerned that all the potential parties that are going to be submitting proposals on this are very aware of that, but they're going to keep their management fee pencil sharp if they're competing against each other. So those are my general comments. And with that, is there a motion to approve the staff's recommendation?
I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, let's take a roll call.
Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray, Director Harold Williams, President Desi Alvarez.
Yes. Okay, so we will move on to the information calendar. And is there any items that any board member would like to have presented from the information calendar? Yes.
I'd like to pull 9B, the water harvest update, please.
Okay. Director Deere, is there anything else you would like?
I don't think so.
All right, so let's go ahead and have a presentation on item 9B.
Yes, thank you very much, President Alvarez. This item 9B on our information calendar, was scheduled and agendized for our Public Information Education Committee, which was not held due to a lack of quorum. But we do have this presentation today. So it begins on page 528. And for this presentation, or leading us off, will be Mel Miranda, our Public Information Specialist, along with Amy Rocha, our Manager of Communications.
Thank you, President Alvarez. Board members, I just wanted to provide an update on water harvest, which is just 12 days away and which starts on packet page 529. We have a great day planned for Saturday, October 5th. I'll begin with some festival highlights that's on page 531. We're happy to welcome back the Wildland Foundation Mobile Learning Experience. It's a 1,000 square foot air conditioned and accessible mobile exhibition that features a multi-sensory theater and 6 interactive stations to explore how water quality and availability affects our lives. We also have regular favorites, including the Wildwood stage shows, the Kids Costume Contest, story time with Elsa in the Library, the Reptile Petting Zoo, and of course, the water recycling facility tours that will focus this year on the advanced treatment process. As for lunch, the Hat Burger and Grill returns as well with a frozen treat for dessert. For our prizes, our search for American-made items was limited, but we're happy with our selection of eco-friendly items that were made in America and will be given to our festival attendees. As for booths on the next slide, we have 23 confirmed, with new booths this year with grades of green and purple. The fire department's battalion chief will be assigned that week, lists the festival on their calendars, and is confident they'll be able to attend. We've also reached out to the police department and we'll continue to follow up with them as they confirm their staffing for that week. Our promotion efforts on the next slide have been significant, promoting our event through our website, social media, our summer newsletter, e-blast from both West Basin and the South Bay Environmental Service Center, community calendar listings, through our media contacts, and 165 schools totaling 14,959 flyers distributed. We've also had individual emails corresponding with the legislatures and state capital and federal levels and our delegation capital and district offices, as well as a press release that was sent out to all media outlets, including also Go TV, an interview with KNX Radio, flyer distribution through our schools, and our final Know Your H2O class, and last week's fire safety workshop. Additionally, follow-up correspondence to our media contacts is planned for the week of test. Our advertising budget focused on non-traditional paid advertisements, such as calendar listings, boosted social media posts, digital flyer distribution services, and a dedicated e-blast with LA Parent Magazine, reaching 50,000 parents. On the next slide, other promotion tactics include our monument banner and banners on social media platforms, as well as a packet page 535 featuring the event on our website, as shown with an emphasis on community. Also on our events webpage on the next slide, we posted a countdown, schedule of events, parking and public transportation options, and a link to our promotional line. Moving on to our sponsors on packet page 537. Maintain the integrity of the upcoming solicitation for proposals for our recycling facility operations and maintenance. Manage not to forego our sponsorships funded by potential bidders. At the same time, staff brought in solicitations to invite new sponsors, such as Fetchers Foundation, Lincoln House Sports Park, LA Chargers, LA Clippers, and Honda, for example. Happy to report that the Chargers have agreed to a sponsorship, and we have a commitment from the LA Clippers for an in-kind donation. Adding to the member agency administered programs $30,600 allocation, we have $43,100 total funds raised this year. We will continue to broaden our sponsorship solicitation in the upcoming years as well. On the next slide, prior to the festival will be the breakfast mixer, starting at 9 a.m. for sponsors and key stakeholders. An electronic invite will send via the general manager's office on September 5th, and logistics for the board will be distributed to the general manager's office on Wednesday, September 25th, with RSVPs requested by September 27th. In that packet, you'll receive 10 physical invites, a parking pass, a map to designate the parking lot, talking points for your respective stage remarks, the run of show, and a schedule of events. We will continue to work with the board secretary, who will have the most updated information. Also, you'll receive your t-shirts the week of September 30th through the general manager's office as well. That concludes my report. We look forward to seeing you all at the festival. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Does the board have any questions, Director Dero?
No.
Mr. Houston?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure we got a report because this is it basically before the event happens, and we did have to cancel that meeting the other week. So thank you. It sounds like we're on target for everything. Also, thanks for the work on getting those sponsors in, help offset some of that cost. I'm just curious too, will El Segundo Cable be coming, or have they responded to us yet? El Segundo?
We've solicited them. We're working on it.
So between them and Hawthorne, usually one or both comes, but see what you guys can do. I know last year there was like a conflicting event or something. So, but again, I know people are already excited about this. I'm hearing about it already, of course, where I live. So we just got to work hard to get to the finish line and get a good response to show up. So I wanted to say thank you. But also I thought it was important for us to hear where you're at thus far, since we couldn't have that report the other day. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Director Houston. All of the city council members for all the city councils within our service area have been invited.
Yes.
And have you gotten RSVPs, or it's going to be unknown how many show up?
I did not know myself that it would like policy, so if anybody responded, we will reach out to them.
Some of the invite letters arrived today, so.
I've received a handful of RSVPs from city council members, and we will be following up with the city managers at their offices this week.
TGA has done a great job, in putting this together, so we're looking forward to, October 5th.
I have one other question.
Yes,
Will you all send us who all is RSVP'd as it gets closer? Just keep the board apprised. Great, thank you.
okay, so with that, can I have a, motion to approve the information calendar? Receive and file the information calendar, I should say.
I'll second.
Okay.
And just to clarify, is that for the entirety of the information calendar as well as the receive and file calendar?
Yeah, let's make them both. Something we need to right there?
Yes.
Yes.
It's fine.
Okay,
Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
Director Gloria Gray, Director Harold Williams, President Desi Alvarez.
okay, general manager's activities report. General manager.
Yes, thank you very much, President Alvarez. I believe staff was able to email that out just prior to the board meeting. You should have a hard copy with you at your desk. And with that, the only other item that I wanted to touch on very quickly was obviously the recognition of Water Professionals Week. You all know how I feel about West Basin staff. We are one of, if not the best in the industry from bottom to top. Every person here at West Basin puts their heart into everything that they do. And so I was very pleased to hear the recognition and obviously the comments from the board of directors means a great deal to me, but I also know that they mean a lot to staff. So thank you very much. And thank you to our team, all of our West Basin staff.
Thank you. We will move on to the general counsel's report.
No report other than going into closed session.
We have a closed session.
You do have a question. So the changing one, the points, Director Deere, do you have anything?
No, I have nothing to report.
Director Houston?
Really quickly, September 16th, I was at the Water Reuse California Conference. I know President Alvarez was there as well, but that was a really good conference. Amazing to have so many great water professionals down in Garden Grove. An incredible panel when it comes to the future of direct global reuse, among other topics that were covered that day. So I just want to acknowledge I was there. And also on September 18th, I'm a member of the Aqua Federal Affairs Committee, and we had our meeting virtually, which was also well attended. There were a ton of people on that. And then, of course, we'll be having our next meeting at the fall conference. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Director. So I don't have any comments. We will move on to closed session. Mr. General Counsel, would like to introduce that item?
Yeah, we will go into closed session for the items that are stated on the agenda, which are A, B, and C. Conference legal counsel, the state of litigation, initiation of litigation, and other anticipated litigation.
With that, we will go into closed session.
Good afternoon, Bob. This is Carla Oget, Executive Assistant for EJ Caldwell and Eric Owen.
We will reconvene the regular meeting of the West Basin Board of Directors and Mr. General Counsel. Do you have anything to report from closed session?
Yes, I do, Mr. President. Item 14A, the board voted unanimously to reject the claim of Marina Troy. There was no other action that was taken in closed session that's reportable to Brad.
Thank you very much. Next is director's comment to future agenda items. So we'll start with you, Director Beer.
No comments. I'll remain no comments. Thank you.
Hey, Director Houston.
Just a couple of minor comments. And one is, I do want to say thank you to our staff, because we did have a couple of loss of power incidents, and I think one of them also happened over Labor Day weekend, if I recall. And then turn around this past weekend. So unfortunately, weekends seem to be when we're having these and on a holiday. But I also know that, general managers kept us informed, and I'm sorry that folks had to deal with that over the weekends. But on the other hand, thank you for doing it and being there and making sure operations move. So just let you know, we were aware and appreciate all of that. Two other items. We had the fire escaping workshop last week on Thursday evening up on Rancho Palos Verdes. We had a pretty good turnout for Thursday night. 25 or 30 people, give or take. Really good questions, really good discussion, as well as a couple gentlemen from LA County Fire Department were there who were excellent, talking about forest management and some other things. So I just want to say thanks to all of our staff who are involved with that and the COG. It was just excellent. And lastly, we're in the midst of United Against Hate Week. Obviously, we did a proclamation last month for that. So there's a series of events continue to happen this week. Things happen on Saturday and on Sunday. Even in El Segundo, we'll be having a candlelight on Thursday night. But I just wanted to remind everybody, United Hate Week is happening this week. And thank you to West Basin for being one of the regional agencies that did a proclamation for that, as well as International Day of Peace. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
I don't have any comments. We'll move on, wrap up the meeting, and we will adjourn this meeting in memory of Mr. David Caldwell. Mr. Caldwell is the father of our general manager, and I never had the pleasure of meeting him, but I think he was an outstanding man, the family, and I think a lot of that is seen in our general manager, and I understand that our general manager sister writer and was or is a writer for the Wall Street Journal. So commendable family. Our condolences. Okay.